Hey, it's Jack, and this video is called The Number One Thing That's Holding You Back. Hey, I'm Jack Butler. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here or you haven't yet subscribed, I want to invite you to subscribe. This is a really awesome community to be part of. I release at least 1 to 2 videos every week on dating, authenticity, and personal growth. And I'd love to have you with us. You can just hit subscribe and then tap the bell notification so you hear of new videos as soon as they come out. And a quick invitation, if you are in relationship, or looking to be in a relationship, or you're dating, or you've got a particular guy and you're wondering, is there some potential with this guy? I want to help you. I've got a free resource. It's called my He's Your Guy checklist. You can just click the first link beneath this video. And this will let you know, is this a guy that has a potential to invest in relationship with you? It's just 9 simple checks you can run any guy with. And let me do some of the lifting. I want to help. All right, click that link beneath the video. Okay, so today's topic. What is this number one thing that's holding you back? Well, I'm going to get right to it. The number one thing that's holding you back is a sense that you should be somewhere right now. What do I mean by that? What I mean is a sense that your life should be in a particular place by this moment, right? And by this moment, we could be, oh, I'm 55 years old, right? I should have this in place. I should have a home mortgage paid off. I should have this kind of partner, or I should have this kind of career, or I should have this kind of travel opportunity, or I should feel this way, or I should look this way, or I should experience life in this particular way. Basically, your should is the thing that's holding you back. And what I want to help in this video is distinguish your should, which is normally coming from your inner critic, versus love of reality, which is loving what is actually here in your life. Right? And if life had wanted you to have your career in a particular place right now, or to be in a relationship at a particular place right now, maybe it would have manifested that for you. And it might be heartbreaking and disappointing to realize that it hasn't. And the more you can orient to love what actually is in your life, the more peace, freedom, and guidance you're actually going to receive. Right? So often, what we're not distinguishing is our inner critic from our true path of guidance. Because the inner critic will say, yeah, you should be stronger, you should be better, you should be more moral, you should be more courageous, you should be more attractive. It will should all over you, right? It's the classic kind of expression, it shoulds all over you because it should. And if you can learn to relax your should, you can much more easily notice what's actually here, right? If I give you a fine art painting, but you actually wanted a specific kind of watercolor, and it should have been that, you're not gonna like what I've given you. Right? Because you have specific expectations about what it is. Another way of saying this is your expectations are really hurting you. Your expectations are actually different from your authentic desires, right? And we so often don't distinguish this. You know, your expectations are normally mind-generated ideas, often based upon negative self-comparison with other people, or based upon, unfulfilled fantasies from the past, or based upon cultural expectations or expectations from upbringing or schooling, right? All of these things are combining to give you expectations. They're different than what is your true path in life, right? You may have an expectation, I should be an astronaut. Life might have manifested you as a musician. If you're still in that expectation that I should be an astronaut because when I was 5 years old, I was inspired by men on the moon, you're actually missing what is here. Love of reality is, who are you? Right? And that might be, wow, as much as I'm inspired by astronauts, I'm actually manifested. I'm a caregiver, or I'm a chef, or I'm a writer, or I'm a public speaker, or I'm, a business person, or fill in the blanks, right? And that is just through the lens of career expression. But so often we're shooting on ourselves like, I should have made more money by now, or I should have got more things in place, or I should have, look at my neighbors, they have this and this and this. Cool, great, that's them, right? Part of your precious individuality is that it's you. Not in a way to be down on yourself or blame yourself, but just realize the unique constellation of consciousness that is you, your perspectives, your history, your physiology, your wounding, right? Your blessed wounding. The stuff that we normally think, wow, I got so screwed up in childhood. Your blessed wounding is maybe that was also for a reason. Maybe there's something that life wanted to teach you through that, right? So I'm talking about an acceptance and an embracing of what actually is in your life. And I learned a lot about this, not only from some of my own unfinished projects that I would keep taunting myself with. I should have written a book by now. I should have written a book by now. And it's like, you know what? There's never actually been a season where that is the thing that has been the utmost natural upwelling in my authentic desire. It's an idea. It's not actually what's happening connected, in my heart center, right? The seat of my desire, or in my body, the desire in my body. It's not actually manifesting that. It's all coming up from my mind. I also got to handle this from coaching people, right? I get on the phone helping people. Some of my earliest days of coaching, I was helping people get more clear about their purpose, get a bit more structured in their business lives, work lives, kind of like clear out stuff so that it's a little bit more simple, right? See the wood for the trees. And so often I get on the phone with people and they would say, I want to launch this business, I want to run this retreat or write this book or develop this new product. And yet as we were getting in the conversation, what I could hear is this person's exhausted. This person needs a rest. This person is overwhelmed. And they've got this story that they should be doing this thing right now. And it may be based upon some authentic desire. Sometimes it's also a desire in the past, right? 3 years ago, I wanted to start this business. I haven't yet done it. I'm now running a kind of racket on myself, telling myself that I'm bad, that I haven't done this thing, right? Sometimes desires belong in the past, right? You didn't do it then. Okay, that might be disappointing. Be with the disappointment so that you can leave the past in the past and then get present to what is actually here. What is this cycle and season about? Just even that question. What is this season of my life about? And it's not every season of life which is about starting a business, right? Or changing career. Sometimes, life seasons, when you really tune in, it's like, wow, yeah, it's about renewal. It's about letting go. It's about maintaining. It can be about completion. It's not always just about the new and the next and the shiny or some unfulfilled desire that I haven't managed to manifest yet. So what is this about? It's about cultivating a kind of inner quiet that allows you to discern right action for this season, not based upon mind-led projections, but based upon actual information, like what are you actually drawn to? What doors are actually opening for you? What is kind of energizing for you? Where are you contracted? Where are you, this thing used to feel good, but now it actually doesn't, and it's no longer current for me, and I need to let it go. Right? It's like you're in a much deeper, wiser conversation with yourself. The mind can be in all sorts of places, right? I can, right now, if I want, I can put myself in Hong Kong. I can put myself in New Zealand. I can put myself in all sorts of places, maybe even places I haven't even been to, because the mind can go there, right? And that's a strength, right? It allows us to visualize things that haven't yet happened, right? Or imagine like, oh yeah, when I go to the airport, I'm going to check in and do this, or I'm going to sit in this seat in the plane. Like there's gifts of that. But it's not the best place to run your life from in terms of your true path, your true guidance, your true desire, your unfolding essence. That's not so mind-led for most of us, right? It's a little bit more like a conversation with ourselves that gets revealed over time. Oh yeah, this seems like this path is emerging for me. These opportunities are arising. This is the feedback that life is giving me. This is where I feel expressed. Over here, though, I don't really feel energized. I don't really feel expressed. I don't really feel supported. Maybe that's not my true path. Right? And that's not to say that a true path is easy. Sometimes the true path is, you've got to go climb that mountain. Good luck with that. That's going to be hard. You might need to train. You might need some specialist equipment, But there is this sense sometimes where you tune in, like, I'm pushing a rock up a hill here based upon a mind-led idea that actually isn't really manifesting for me. And if I dropped it, maybe it would reemerge just in the right season. I'm no farmer, but you want to plant your crops in the right season, right? And you harvest them in the right season. There are certain seasons to the individual unfolding of your life, I want to submit, that you can't necessarily fight with those things. And why would you want to? Because that's what life is manifesting for you. So some of this really is another way of saying, when you drop your shoulds, when you drop your inner critic, when you drop your expectations, you can actually notice there is a place on a map called where you are in your life right now, right? With all your hopes and fears, with all your wants, desires, disappointments, with all your brilliance, light, dark, and wounding, with all of that, there is a sort of place that we could kind of, it'd be a very multi-dimensional map, right? But we can say, yeah, here's where you are, here's what your life is, here are your circumstances, here are the things going on, here's what's on your heart, blah, blah, blah. That life wants that for you in some ways, and that will be difficult to hear if this is a difficult time in your life, right? I can relate. I've had really difficult times in my life. In a difficult time in my life, I don't want to hear someone say, you're exactly where you're meant to be, right? And it still might be true, right? Just because I don't want to hear it doesn't mean that it's actually less true. It might just be like, wow, I fear getting stuck here. But yeah, maybe in this cycle, it's actually a cycle of shedding and letting go. And it's not a cycle of pushing out on my big projects. Maybe that's totally fine. And then maybe there's other cycles where it's like, wow, this is just accelerating more quickly than I even thought it would. And that's exactly right. That could be a relationship, that could be a new career, that could be, retirement. You might have been dreaming of retirement, imagining it was going to happen, and then actually there's an opportunity comes your way and you retire 5 years early, and you wouldn't have foreseen that, but that is kind of right according to the guidance you receive. So I use this word a lot, guidance, and it may or may not be a word that resonates with you, right? You could say higher self, you could say inner coach, you could say true path, you could say your highest potential, your best self. I think these are all sort of in the same area of, if you actually put your ideas and expectations aside, what might be what life wants for you, right? Because there's what I want from my life, right? I want, maybe in my life, I maybe want to build things or travel or have a family or create wealth or have health or invent something or cure cancer. It might be all sorts of things that I want. But that's sort of me, right? That's like Jack. Jack wants those things for Jack, and that's completely legit. And there's also sometimes a bigger conversation, like, what does life want for Jack? What does life want for you? That's where it's like I depersonalize and I sort of notice, like, where do I get response? Where do I seem to be able to serve people? Where do doors open? Where do doors close? Like, what seems to be the right path? If you and I are climbing up a mountain and we just hit this overhang that we can't seem to surmount, and we try really hard and we still can't surmount it, maybe we can just look and see, is there a different path up the mountain, rather than just imagine, well, I thought I was going to go up that path, so I have to keep blindly going up that path. Right? I'm talking about a conversation with the elements. I'm talking about a conversation with life, where it's actually okay for things to unfold and emerge. You don't actually know the plan the whole time. Of course, we might want structure. We might want, roots. We might want, a minimum effective dose of being held in a current plan and reality. And if you put your shoulds aside, your life just gets a bit easier. Now, the fear is that if I put my shoulds aside, maybe I'm just going to become a kind of blancmange or amoeba, or I'm just going to eat, nachos on the sofa. Like, there's a fear that if that part of you that is often very driven, right, it has ideas and expectations of you, that if you put that down, won't I just be kind of like, a directionless sort of gluttonous animal, or just like a sort of soft, I don't really know what I'm doing, aimless person? My curiosity for you is find out. And the only way you find out is actually by having enough of an extended trial where you drop your shoulds. A lot of us find that when we drop our shoulds, we have a bit more energy, because that puts a lot of pressure on you in certain directions, right? Or we might find that we feel a bit more free or expressed, or we might find our creativity comes online, or we might find there are unexpected avenues, right? Maybe we've always told ourselves that, we need to be in a relationship, and actually we start to really enjoy our singleness, right? Or maybe we enjoy dating multiple people at once, and we've never even had the availability for that conversation, right? So it's sort of like love of reality versus love of expectation. Love of reality doesn't mean to say I have to look at everything through rose-tinted glasses. Some of reality is hard and difficult and frustrating and cruel, right? I think that's part of the picture for most of us. A lot of life's admin. Who gets excited about having to do their tax return, really? Maybe if you're an accountant, but probably most accountants have done enough tax returns, they don't want to do their own. So it's like, part of life. It's like getting up on a cold morning. Like, does anyone really like doing that? Your shower needs fixing. Does anyone really want to do that? Your car's got a dent in it. I woke up yesterday and a barrage dropped on my car. I've got a dent in it. I've got to go figure out, taking it to the body shop, getting it painted. I'd rather be doing other stuff. And it's part of life, the more that we can just be in rapport with what is unfolding in our life. Like, in some ways I'm saying your shoulds are your resistance. Because I should be going through this door, right, creates resistance to actually going through the door that's opening for you. And not every door that opens for you is necessarily right for you to walk through, right? Life will give you opportunities that internally, you tune in, you're like, that's great that that's come, but it's not right for me. Or sometimes, and this can be even difficult, there's an opportunity that ordinarily would be right for you, but in this season and cycle, internally, it's not right for you. Right? Like, let's just say in this instance of writing the book, maybe you always wanted to write the book, and a publisher comes your way and says, we want to publish your book. And actually, as you really tune in, you're like, this is not the season for me to write my book. They're sometimes the hardest opportunities to say no to. But the more you practice this, the more you practice being internally in touch with yourself at a sort of deeper level, the easier I think it becomes. And of course, there are all sorts of distortions to being in touch with yourself, right? I can be prone to being anxious, You know, when I'm anxious, it's harder to be in touch with myself because I just want to be out of the discomfort of being anxious. You know, when I'm anxious, I'm less grounded and I'm looping up here and my mind is generating lots of activity and it's hard for me really to discern what the right path might be. You know, you might be overwhelmed with the people in your life. You might be overwhelmed with, you know, just trying to pay rent and make bills. You know, I get it. Like, none of this is saying that it's always easy. But even in the context of I'm struggling to pay my bills, I might notice that gets just a little easier if I drop this expectation that I shouldn't be having this experience right now. I should be in some different reality. I should be earning more money. Maybe I can turn that around and say, I really want to make more money, or it would feel really good to me to make money, or I'm committed to making money, versus I should, right? Because this is this kind of expectation grip. It's your inner critic. And by the way, your inner critic, right? So let's just quickly go there. Your inner critic is a structure of socialization. What does it mean? It means you internalize expectations from your upbringing, mostly parenting and culture at large, and schooling for most of us, that tell me, do this, don't do that, right? And it's really useful. Yeah, don't run out on the road. That might save your life. You know, don't say something disrespectful to your neighbor, right? Don't answer back when it's not helpful. You know, do pay your taxes, you know, do abide by the law, right? And that's even at the level of law. And then there's also just the level of culture, right? Like, yeah, you know, when you go around dinner at someone's house, you know, don't have 17 helpings, right? It's like there are cultural norms that we learn. And then there's a structure in us, our inner critic, that says, hey, don't do this, do that, based upon a lot of those expectations, which came from whom? Mostly not from us, right? They came from parents, schooling, society, and I'm not making that wrong. There's so much to learn from those people. And as you individuate in your path of authenticity, there's so much you also got to learn from yourself, which might involve dialing down some of those loops that you sort of think is you talking to you, but it's actually mum, or it's actually your high school headmistress, or it's that teacher you had in middle school, or it's your uncle, or it's your father, or it's your brother, or it's your ex-girlfriend. It could be all sorts of things, but it's not actually your true voice, right? So when we dial down the inner critic, we get more access to our authentic voice and our authentic desire. I think those are good things. When we dial down the inner critic, we may also notice the inner critic is sneaky. It will take advantage, and maybe I don't even need to put it in language to take advantage. Your inner critic will pick up on things that are genuine concerns for you, right? So your inner critic might say, yeah, you know, work harder on that presentation. You don't want to mess it up. Right? And it may be true, it may be saying to you, you're not ready, and maybe you're not ready, but the way that it has it over you, like you should have, or you should, there's a certain taskmaster kind of harsh, critical energy to it. And you might be able to deliver the self-same message in a way that you actually respond to more because it's not critical. It's like, hey, you're not ready yet, buddy. Let's get to work, right? Rather than you should have been ready, or you should get to work, or you should have been prepared by now. Do you see that? It's like it's a difference of tone, and you'll know this how people speak to you. They might say the same thing in two different tones and it has a completely different impact on your nervous system. You're having that kind of impact on your nervous system ongoingly from the ways that you're talking to yourself, right? So if it were true, or at least possible to imagine, that there is an X on a map called the place that life has brought you to in this moment, with all the good and the bad, with all the hope and all the heartache, that this is actually where life manifested a path for you to be right now. And in many ways, it's going to be limited, right? You probably don't have the financial freedom that you might want. You maybe don't have the relationship that you want. You maybe don't have all the joy and positivity and compassion that you want, right? Maybe sometimes you really feel like life's gnarly. You're down on yourself. Maybe you've had some depression. You maybe had anxiety. Maybe you've had grief, you know, all of these things. It's just saying maybe life also included that in its path for you, right? Not every path is just going to be joy and smiles. Unfortunately, in my experience as a coach, I think most of us have some of our most profound learning from our pain, not just from our inspiration, you know? And inspiration's awesome. I love feeling inspired, or I love being inspired by other people or inspiring people. But there's also pain, right? Where life is like, no, I'm actually going to take that thing away from you. I'm going to take that career away from you. I'm going to take that relationship away from you. I'm going to take that money away from you. I'm going to take that home away from you. I'm going to take that sense of security away from you. Lots of things that life might take from you that if you're resisting, you're like, wow, this is just a bad thing. Of course, you're human. You may experience like this is a bad thing. And there may just be this bigger narrative that you can hold it within of like, if life is for me, let me get curious. You know, maybe it's asking me to let go of this career because there's something different, you know, that I hadn't even thought. And maybe I'm not going to make as much money, but maybe it's actually going to be the right path for me. And maybe I'm going to be more fulfilled. Maybe I have to leave that career in finance. It's really high paying, but actually I want to be a photographer. That's what's going to make my soul sing. And I'm going to step into that, and I'll find ways to make it work for me financially. They're sort of bigger picture life themes. I'm talking about when you let go of this should, I should have this life. Because so often your should of your life is built upon other people's ideas. And other people's ideas can be fantastic, right? I'm grateful to all the people who give us the benefit of a scientific worldview that I have not had to spend time studying to give us culturally the benefits of that worldview. But often it's like a former mentor might have put an idea about who you should be, right? Or in your upbringing, you thought you were going to be a certain thing, and actually that's not the way that it's going to unfold for you. It's almost like I can trust more deeply that who I am becoming is kind of who I'm meant to become. And the obstacles that I face on the way are obstacles that life is presenting me on the way. Right? It's all part of my own unfolding and becoming more of who I really am. Right? And isn't that at a deep level what a lot of us want? Do we want to live our life in all its messiness, in all its confusion, in all its frailty? This is your life. This is a unique constellation of consciousness in all time and history that is you. And dropping that internalized inner critic structure is the most powerful thing in my experience that you can do to step in and claim a life that is fully and authentically yours. I want that for you. I want that for me. If you've watched this video thus far, please like it. Please subscribe to the channel. I don't think this is just an everyday conversation that you and I are in here. I love that you watched this far. Thanks for doing it. And please leave me a comment or question below this video. I want to know, how's this landing? Is it making sense to you? What are your resistances? Are you able to drop your should? What do you have a should about that you maybe need to let go? Let me know. Leave me a comment beneath this video. Let's start the conversation. And as always, I'm Jack. Thanks for being here.